Good morning and welcome to Peace Out, where we are all figuring out together how to just peace out, right? And I think hopefully we're getting this process down where we get to that point of peace a little bit faster than we did yesterday, right? We give God our problems. It doesn't mean that all our problems go away, and that's what we're going to talk about today. It doesn't mean that they all go away. It doesn't mean new ones don't arise. It just means that in the middle of a storm, in the middle of life's trials, in the middle of our predicaments, in the middle of our problems, we can still have His peace. And that's really what I found this morning in 2 Samuel. I finished 2 Samuel this morning. I'm a little bit behind on my own personal reading, but I will get there. And this is a Psalm of David, the Song of David, near the end of his life. He's finished his battles. He's not going to fight anymore, and they're protecting him now. He's in his older age. And it's also the same as Psalm 18, but it's also in 2 Samuel 22. And in verse 40 it says this: "You have armed me with strength for the battle. You have subdued, it's a hard word to say, my enemies under my feet." And what stuck out to me this morning as I read that is David said, "You armed me with strength for the battle." He did not say, "You helped me avoid ever having to fight. You helped me avoid facing an enemy. You helped me avoid a giant." As a matter of fact, we know this is the same David that as a young man ran to the battlefield to take out Goliath, right? His goal wasn't to avoid a fight. His goal was to win the fight, right? And so with this same David now he's saying, you armed me with strength for the battle. You gave me what I needed to go into the battle and subdue my enemies. Now, we're not fighting a physical Goliath, thank God. We're not fighting necessarily physical things. We don't have people trying to take over our cities physically. We're not fighting things like that, but we are fighting that doubt that tries to creep in when you go, is God really going to meet my needs today? Is God really going to do this? Am I really saved? We fight doubt. We fight fear. Fear was the reason we started this Peace Out thing. Oh, what's today? The 27th, 26th? Almost exactly 4 years ago. This week, right? This week, definitely. It was why we even started this, because we were afraid, because we were given so much crazy information. It wasn't even accurate, but we didn't know it, right? We didn't know. We were faced with something we'd never seen before, a pandemic we'd never experienced before. We didn't know if it was an end-time plague, biblical proportions. We didn't know. And that brought that fear. And that's when I started going, okay, there's got to be some peace in here, because God didn't change His mind no matter what's going on, right? And so fear was a huge thing then. And now we look back and kind of laugh. We washed everything off and we brought it in from the stores. We did some of us did some crazy stuff. Some people didn't, some people did, right? And maybe you weren't bothered at all, but you got something else that bothered you, right? So maybe you didn't even jump in that boat and go. Maybe it was okay. Everybody was all cool with it. Maybe you didn't have any fears at all. You didn't even worry about it. You were like, it's a bunch of hogwash. That's okay. Something else got in your boat. Some other enemy came. Maybe there was a doubt. And maybe it wasn't even the pandemic at all, but we have these things that come at us. And our enemies are fear or doubt or unbelief or just wondering if we're going to make it through the day sometimes. We have things that battle against our emotions these days. We live on high octane. I do, right? we live in a highly anxious world. There's so many people dealing with anxiety. Some of that is actually what we're using right now, social media, because there's so much more going on in our days. It's filled with social media activity, with work activities, with all kinds of things, and the TVs and radio, all these things. We've got so many things coming at our mind. We don't know, as a society and as a culture, sometimes we don't know how to just chill. We forget how to be quiet and know He is God, and yet we have to we have to figure out for ourselves how to do that once again. And sometimes having strength for the battle is exactly that, doing nothing but sitting down and going, okay, God, I'm going to be still. I'm going to know you are my God, and I'm going to know and remind myself that you've got this under control. And you've got me in your best interest. You've given me your peace. You love me. Your grace is enough for today. Your mercies were new this morning. Again, just because I need them, right? And so he gives us that strength for the battle against all those things, and he subdues those enemies. And again, those enemies, sometimes our enemies, and I'm just speaking, this is just me, right? But sometimes our enemies are our own thoughts. I can be my own worst enemy in my head. Oh, you're so stupid, or what, that idiot, what did you do? I'm talking to myself, not you, right? Our thoughts can be our own enemies. How do we retrain those thoughts? Well, 2 Corinthians tells us to bring our thoughts captive to Christ. Bring our thoughts captive to this word. But you know what? If we don't know what the Bible says, we don't know that we've got peace. We don't know that we have enough grace for any situation, not to avoid the situation, but to get through the situation. My mind goes to Peter, where Jesus said, I've prayed for you, Peter, so that your faith won't fail. And I'm like, well, why didn't you pray that he didn't have to go through any hard stuff? Why didn't you pray that he could avoid the battle? But Jesus said, I prayed that your faith wouldn't fail. He did not pray. He didn't say, I prayed so that you didn't have to go through that. Because he knew Peter was going to come through on the other side, trusting God more, loving God more, holding to God more. And Peter was able to take his tenacity and his crazy, jumping the gun, anxious self and stand up on the day of Pentecost and see 3,000 people saved. Thousands, was it 3,000 on the day of Pentecost? I'll have to go look in Acts chapter 2 and see exactly how many it was, but thousands were saved that one day because Peter stood up and went, no, let me tell you what's going on here. Let me tell you what really happened. And so God was able to take the things about Peter that we can relate to, that being, jumping the gun, that jumping out there and trying to overact. He's the one that cut the servant's ear off when they came to get Jesus. But that was a quality God loved about Peter. But on the other side of faith, it was a quality he could use. And so God doesn't condemn us for being super energetic. He doesn't condemn us for being tenacious. He doesn't condemn us for being go-getters. He just says, let's put that to work for the kingdom. Let's see people saved. Let's see people grow in the word. Let's see people grow in their love of God. Let's see people understand God's love for them more and more every day. Let's see people being able to be in the middle of a battle and just being still and knowing that God is still God. Knowing that God still has us. Being still, having peace in the middle of the storm. Jesus didn't, he didn't avoid this storm. He didn't say, well, go around the other way so you don't have to go through the storm. He actually sent his disciples into the storm and then brought them peace right in the middle of it. And he can do the same thing for us right here, right now, today, because he is our peace. And that's why we can peace out. He won't make the battles go away, and he won't keep you from facing them, but he will give you the strength, the wisdom, the strategy, the spiritual strategy, the mental alertness that you need to get through whatever you're facing today, and realize that on the other side of it, that God's still God. He didn't go away because something bad happened, something difficult happened. He was right there with you. That's why we can peace out. Peace out. Have a great day. I'll see you again tomorrow.